Welcome everyone to Looking to the Future, a night of film and performance art.
We are part of Oddball Space, an online community created by artists to help provide events and opportunities for emerging artists.
A few months ago we released an open call asking artists to send over film and performance art in response to ideas concerning the future.
This is now culminated in a film screening showcasing the work of 8 artists.
These include Sadegh Aleahmad, Brian Alexander, Leonie Bellini, Calum English, Kiana Honarmand, Edwin Miles, Moraes, and Eoin O'Dowd.
Thank you to all the artists for getting involved with the launch, and a big thank you to everyone who has booked tickets and donated to us.
We are so grateful for all the support we receive, and we hope you enjoy the films. We are keeping the chat function open as a way to communicate, ask questions, as well as discuss art. Please remember to be respectful when using the chat so that we can create a kind and welcoming atmosphere. My name is Jacob.
I'm Hafsa, and we'll be co-hosting the film screening for you tonight,
as well as introducing the artists that you will be seeing shortly. Brian Alexander is a transdisciplinary artist and experience designer who strives for the realization of clarity, creativity, and potential in all individuals. His persistently human-centric work has informed both commercial and artistic endeavours, an array of technical disciplines. His 31-year professional career continues with an expanded emphasis on systemics, conditioning, and emergent behaviour as a more complete picture of need, creation, and fulfilment in our lives. Data Fate is a short film referencing the profound uncertainty around the granular objectification of life on Earth. It is a portrait of a vast realm where everything is going, but one can visit. It begins with an apparent choice with which we are all familiar, but quickly departs for a vista in the life of Data. All images were shot live using physical machines and devices expressly built to humanize and add a sense of warmth to the abstract life of energy as information.
Calum English is an artist from the UK who primarily uses sound and video to create vivid soundscapes and films. A common theme within his body of work is to create an atmosphere or feeling motivated by a desire to create something visceral. His manipulation of sight and sound is activated in a way that is relatable to the human experience, creating work that encapsulates viewers in a particular situation. Throughout the film, Calum uses unconventional filming and editing techniques to create something obscure and abstract, accompanied by an equally abstract and uneasy piece of sound. The film functions as an exploration into different experimental film and sound techniques, lacking any coherent narrative. Instead, it creates a journey through different textures and sounds that exist as a continuous flux of audio and visual information.
Leonie Bellini is a London, Newcastle-based artist and writer who explores themes of love, care, and intimacy, particularly in a queer and mentally ill context, through film, print, poetry, zines, and more. Their short film, Sunday, imagines a future, or perhaps an alternative present, one that is warm and comfortable and hopeful. A world where everyone can walk the streets safely, wake up rested with someone they love, and where Couch to 5K isn't the catch-all NHS prescription for depression. Taking its tone from relaxation ASMR style videos and jarring this with painful glimpses of harassment or sickness, it reads as both hard-hitting and personally therapeutic. The film's visuals are bright, sun-drenched and calming, layering keyholes into blissful day off. The future seems dreamily possible. Content warning, implied mention of misogyny, queerphobic violence and illness.
Breathe in and open your eyes. You are lying in a bed with clean sheets and no crumbs and a sunny pillow. You curl your toes and drift up. Your partner lets their silvering tan flop over the mattress edges. Your clean hair is tied back, and you gently dress, feeling each piece of cloth cool over your skin. You pocket your key and walk to the door, not tripping over the 10 pairs of shoes in the hallway. The road outside is still and quiet. No one stares at you as you walk. Focus on the sounds of your feet on the pavement, on the grass, on the sand. Each step is grounded. There are no cracks or tree roots to trip on. No one ever scrapes their knees or twists their ankles. There are no loud cars, and there are no loud men. You breathe smooth again. There are no presidents, and your hair doesn't fall out in clumps in the shower, and there is no government, and no one has their period if they don't want it. Feel the warmth of the sun on your back. When your illness is bad, you are cared for softly, and no one asks if you tried mindfulness or Couch to 5K. When your stomach hurts, your friends bring you ginger tea and you never throw it back up. No one's drink has ever been spiked. Focus on how light your heart feels. You know you are safe on the way home. You never get followed. You never get shouted at. Your keys are not tense between your fingers. You find yourself, without trying, back outside a familiar fence. You unlock the door and breathe the cool and silent air. You are warm here. You are calm. You are cared for. And you are safe.
Sue Moraes is a moving image artist that often blurs the worlds of what is classed as video and film. Her work touches on themes of identity, location, memory, displacement and its effects, and colonialism. In the displacement of organic matter on a geographical plane, she utilizes an ambiguous, poetic narrative to talk about safe methods of displacement, using a conveyor of the message. She also touches on memory and utilizing the past as a way to move forward. In her own words, the way in which we are going to live in the future is heavily influenced by how we've lived and how we're living now. It is crucial for us to use those teachings to implement changes to ourselves and our planet. We are wired to always look towards the future, and we might sometimes fail to realize that some practices and habits from old are the best way in which to live a more balanced and happy life.
So these are the new daughter sets that have formed the bright green ones, but the rest of these are millions and millions. They are single cell, but they live in colony. So how do they just synchronize that flagellum to go like this? I don't know.
We have to read back to the terms that is
We went for a meal and I kept just waiting. We had two and then we waited and we it's almost like you got it out of the
Let's go down and see what's been taken over.
the takeaway.
I just discovered it twice.
Coming out this episode of the week.
Don't you dare.
When you guys count.
The following
Where you saw the chapter, he just can't.
Oh, yes.
The way here it is. See that ways. That's all.
All those men to feel it. No mess.
As a young Iranian-born artist living in the UK, Sadegh Aleahmad's practice examines the construction of his diasporic identity in relation to both spectator perception, his religious upbringing, and his current status as a Muslim and a migrant. Sadegh's work deterritorialize various Islamic disciplines, detaching them from their personal, religious, and social-political connotations, and fuse them with the ethics and aesthetics of Western contemporary art making. The film is a documentation of an encounter the artist had with a Christian pastor, where they shook the artist's hand after he performed within their church. The pastor expressed how important it was to display artworks from other religions and to create a dialogue within the church. The moving image explores the significance of touch as a visceral marker for mutual understanding and diffusing any sense of hostility between two seemingly opposite cultural identities.
In the name of your present tenants, and those who are no longer gifted, time is settled and servitized to underlie the decaying bodies of martyrs, in brackets, lovers. You are the pinnacle of Aleahmad's climax, in brackets, the essential realm between the past and present that has refused from the clenched palm of undescribed destiny towards the smell of pure ideas. You are the weight of the light, in brackets, unending hydra, that it impregnates the halogens of hope, and those who have forgotten the taste of their history, and those whose skin reeks of the desert, from my above and your below.
The halogen of my failing posture in the instant of your infinite, I dream about your martyrdom.
When our hands take over in leading each other to pray, the birth of the newborn resurrects your name under my dark skin in honor of noble country.
Kiana Honarmand is an artist who explores her life in Iran and her identity as a Middle Eastern woman living in the United States. She creates images, videos, sculptures and installations that illustrate her struggles related to her cultural identity and how it is perceived in a new home. Creating from a personal place, Kiana is able to craft a space to share her experience with the viewer. As I Lay Longing explores the topic of longing and immigration through the language of the video and performance. This piece investigates the process of learning to deal with the constant state of waiting in uncertainty through the daily acts and rituals. It is about the state of not having full control over your life and not knowing what tomorrow will bring. The realization that regardless of all things outside of your will and power, life still goes on, and before you know it, days, months and years pass by.
یک 2 15 33 61 81 102 127 143 158 171 196 211 223 244 270 277 303 328 348 363 385 401 418 449 478 493 512 535 554 583 606 615 621 635 654 673 696 718 741 761 780 802 834 853 877 899 917 930 949 956 975 990 1007 1020 1032 1048 1060 1078 1091 1113 1138 1163 1189 1211 1216 1233 1250 1276 1295 1316 1339 1363 1386 1407 1429 1445 1472 1480 1493 1511 1548 1568 1595 1618 1634 1652 1677 1691 1715 1736 1758 1768 1776 1793 1827 1842 1860 1885 1903 1933 1962 1980 1992 2019 2027 2054 2071 2096 2104 2127 2149 2163 2184 2199 2229 2251 2259 2280 2295 2318 2333 2358 2371 2401 2426 2441 2468 2473 2500 2520 2532 2564 2585 2594 2612 2634 2653 2678 2699 2702 2720 2743 2763 2794 2811 2831 2859 2871 2904 2917 2920 2930 2943
Eoin O'Dowd is an artist from Dublin, Ireland, living and working in Helsinki, Finland. Eoin's work utilises collage methods with objects and video, both found and authentic. Increasingly, Eoin's work has been in collaboration with composers and musicians, utilising live field recordings and performances across a wide range of media. Portcullis Gusset I, Intersecting Erection, was made to accompany live performances by noise musician Luxury Mollusk. The work concerns an innate frustration and fragility born of emotional illiteracy that is taught in a masculinity aggressive and reactionary. Eoin seeks to subvert these antiquated roles which are both south and outwardly destructive, and to promote a subjective and pluralistic masculinity.
Edwin Miles is a moving image artist, filmmaker and self-proclaimed home movie maker from the West Midlands. Now based in South London, his work reflects on person and place, home and memory, shot primarily using a mini DV. In his latest work, he has explored place in relation to memories of his family, often turning to the contrast between his city home now with his upbringing in a small riverside town. Shadows in a Landscape was shot entirely using a mini DV. The film substitutes the corridors of a London flat with the foggy hilltops of the Clent Hills near Birmingham. Part documentary about the journey Edwin took up in the Clent Hills and part fictionalized ghost story, Shadows in a Landscape draws its narrative from personal memories while dramatizing them in order to explore family lineage and how things are passed on from one generation to another.
While visiting my hometown near the end of 2019, I decided to take a walk up the Clent Hills near Birmingham. I went on Sam's recommendation a few days earlier. He told me that at the top of the hills, you could see the whole of Worcestershire, and having lived the last 5 years in London, Bristol and Cornwall, the idea of seeing Worcestershire in its entirety was a warming one. Having lived in the city, my lack of recent country walking meant I hadn't the right footwear, and I got muddy very quickly. The initial part of the walk was a steep incline, but I eventually found my way onto a path. A few minutes in, I started to get an ache in my right leg because of a well overdue operation. I have the same issue my mother once had. She drove me here but hadn't the right footwear either, so stayed in the car. Upon arrival, around midday, I was quickly greeted with cold winds, rain and fog. The sheep were nice, but apart from them, nothing beyond the immediate trees and fields was visible. The fog cast an eerie atmosphere among the hills, which was appreciated, but my hopes of seeing Worcestershire as my brother had promised were shattered. I carried on walking in hope that I'd find a higher point on the hills to see some sort of horizon, but the fog seemed to get even more dense the further I walked. Wet and miserable, I nearly left the hills prematurely, but as I turned to go, I was greeted by moving shadows appearing from a cluster of trees nearby. Whereas moments before I felt isolated and alone on my walk, completely oblivious to the many people walking the same paths as me, only a few steps away, now I was one part of a new landscape. With this new hospitality, I decided to stay for a bit longer and experience the place in good company. I was surprised to see so many brave the cold weather, but they were all so much more prepared than I was. I went mostly unnoticed, perhaps a shadow in the landscape, much like they were. My walk started to lead me to something called the Four Stones, 4 vertical rocks that sit atop the Clent Hills. I haven't ever visited Stonehenge, so these seemed to me to be an appropriate substitute in the meantime. While they looked authentic, I recently found out they aren't Neolithic at all. Just something interesting somebody built in the mid-1700s to give themselves something to look at. Before arriving, I googled to find that Robert Plant had visited the Four Stones a few weeks before me. And it was here that I saw the apparition of my father. My father, like his father, and his father before that, had 2 died at the age of 65. The years, months and weeks leading up to my dad's 65th birthday were riddled with anxiety and fear due to this family myth. My father had succumbed to this familial pattern and passed away due to complications with high blood pressure, eerily like his own grandfather and my great-grandfather. He died too soon, but it was only when I left the West Midlands did I realise how much of an impression he had made on me. He was a market trader because he wanted to be his own boss, and while it never made much money at the time, it is only now, in my own adulthood, can I fully understand why he did it. But here he was, as clear as day, looking like a beach boy and walking around the Four Stones like anybody else there. It never crossed my mind to call my mum, but I later found out that she had bought one of the Clent's famous bacon sandwiches and was well occupied listening to Rod Stewart through the car's radio. Looking back, I wish I had filmed more of him, but instead I filmed this dog. Now, back in my flat in London, I hope Sam and Will are okay. And while a clear horizon was misted, perhaps my brother wasn't lying after all. Perhaps this is precisely what he meant.
Thank you to everyone who has stopped by and experienced this journey of film and performance art.
Another big thank you to our 8 talented artists who have taken the time to send in their films and be a part of our event.
We hope you have all enjoyed watching, and if any of you are interested in seeing more of the artists' work, be sure to check the description for links of their websites and social media. More information on this, as well as future events, can be found on our website at oddballspace.com.